I'm Kevin Costello.
And I'm Paul Hackett, and we're from thecritics.tv.
And we'll be reviewing 30 Days of Night.
So 30 Days of Night takes place in Barrow, Alaska. It's a small, isolated town in the middle of nowhere, and it's just about to go through 30 days without a sunrise. Sucks for them, but it makes this place a party central for rampaging gangs of vampires.
Yep, and in true horror fashion, Josh Hartnett, who plays the sheriff Evan, and his estranged wife Stella, played by Melissa George, have to lead a band of survivors of the town through 30 days without sun in order to make it to that first sunrise.
I think the concept for this movie is strong. It's actually an original idea in a genre that's become pretty played out. And, you know, this is one of those rare times where monsters actually have a plan and an objective. I mean, finally these vampires have a leader you can respect.
Yeah, I think so, and I think another great thing about this movie is really the efforts of the rookie director David Slade, who is best known for his music video work, but here turns in a great effort, really establishing the small-town feel of Barrow, Alaska. You really feel that this is a community that's going to be cut off during this 30 days of no sun, and you know, I mean, some of the imagery that he puts in there, pulled directly from the graphic novel, is really great.
Yep. The other thing he does great is the action sequences. He walks a fine line between making the vampires, you know, seem terrifyingly strong, but without making it seem unbelievable. Because it seems more real, it makes it that much more terrifying. The other great thing in this movie is the gore, because it's done almost tastefully. It's really not over the top.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, well, I guess the viewer will have to decide if you go see this movie, because, you know, that scene where an 8-year-old girl gets her head cut off with an axe, kind of...
One time.
I think the one really, you know, momentous part about this movie has to be the first half hour.
Absolutely.
I think that the way that it builds up, it crescendos into, you know, this vampire attack, the way that it builds suspense, the way that it introduces you to the characters, introduces you to the town, to the setting, and then, you know, the brutality of the vampires when they actually attack, I think is done masterfully. I really think that it's just absolutely beautiful.
When it all hits, it really does come together, but the problem with that is that this movie doesn't pace itself. It all comes together at the end of day one, and again, it's 30 days of night. We have 29 days where these human survivors are just basically playing hide and seek with the vampires. I mean, you watch the movie and you feel like nothing is going on.
Yeah, it hits that first half hour, and that's, yeah, it's a 2-hour-long movie. I mean, you still got, you know, an hour and a half to keep going with it, and, you know, it just feels like after that high point, everything else is pointless.
It loses its momentum, and it really doesn't ever get it back, and the worst part about all that downtime is you sit there and you're wondering, you know, this would have been a great time to develop a character or two.
Yeah, they have a great setup for the characters, and then they just completely drop it. So you want to care about them after the first half hour, but then after roughly an hour of absolutely nothing happening, nobody saying anything of consequence, or they, you know, them not even introducing or, you know, addressing the B plot for Josh Hartnett's character and Melissa George's character, and why they're estranged is just, it's just disappointing.
Don't worry too much about that B plot, because clearly the writers didn't.
Yeah, so. That's true. And while it doesn't have any answers, it definitely has a resolution.
That's certainly true.
And, you know, I think that the one thing that also deserves addressing here is that not only, you know, does nothing really happen with the characters, you turn to the vampires, and it kind of suffers one of those problems where the monster's scariest when you can't see it. Because when you finally do see it, it's just a middle-aged white guy in a bad suit running around in the snow.
It's really sad, because they start off as such an ominous and terrifying force. Literally, when they decide to kill you, you're dead. You don't have a chance. But then, after the first day, they become such a bumbling opponent, and then downright annoying.
Oh, annoying. I mean, alright. The first time I heard them scream, it bothered me. After the 300th time, I wanted to shoot myself in my seat.
Then, you know, when you talk about the dialogue, is that well, it's not the worst dialogue I've ever heard, but it's certainly nowhere near the best. I mean, there's like 17 days where there's nothing. And after that long, even a cheesy action line would have been welcome.
Or anything funny at all. Because literally, it never tries to break the tension with a memorable quote or even anything funny at all.
I think the problem is that only boring people live in Barrow, Alaska, and we forgot to get that part into the story.
I think that is. I think that just everybody there is just not entertaining at all. Everybody's too busy owning guns and farming ice, I guess. The acting in it, you know, it isn't bad. I mean, even Josh Hartnett, I think, did a pretty bang-up job injecting some character development, because when you first see him as the sheriff, he's kind of this you know, hometown guy who, when he sees all these horrible things happening, you can see tears welling in his eyes, because these are people he knows being killed, and by the end, he realizes, hey, you know, I'm gonna have to do some pretty horrible things here to make it through.
If you're starved for a horror movie or something from that genre, then, you know, go check it out, but it's really not worth the price of admission. I mean, well, it was for us. We didn't pay to go see it.
Yeah, that's true, but I think when you factor in $12 for admission, you know, $5 for gas, I don't know, like, what is it, like $39 for a small drink of popcorn now?
I go 36, but that's because I go with the small Pepsi.
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't think it's worth it. And I think, bottom line, Netflix it. So I'm
Paul Hackett.
And I'm Kevin Costello, and we're with thecritics.tv.